Give us your perspective from the White House. Are you happy with the way things are going, the way Nancy Pelosi says she is?
Well, look, I think today we've got reason for a little more optimism than we've had in recent days. I think the parties are actually talking, exchanging ideas. We're seeing the speaker move, maybe in ways that she hasn't over the course of the last 90 days. The administration has remained consistently in support of paycheck protection, funds for small businesses, funding to get schools open, stimulus checks for hardworking Americans, unemployment insurance help. We're kind of having that conversation about liability protections and on onshoring manufacturing, really a more robust discussion. The chief will be on the Hill talking with senators today, seeing how far we can move the ball down the field. The Speaker and the Secretary, Stephen Mnuchin, will speak again this afternoon. I think both sides are rightfully projecting a little bit of optimism compared to where we have been over the past several months, because the Speaker really was unwilling to move, and it seems like we're coming a little bit closer together.
Well, and Brian, I don't want to get in the middle of this negotiation. I won't do that, but I will say that the Speaker yesterday on the question of liability indicated there is some middle ground. It was not an all or nothing proposition if it's limited to COVID-19. But the other bookend, as she called it, was actually state and local assistance. Where are we on that?
Yeah. So we still have differences there. The estimates that our folks have been looking at in terms of what the state and local governments would need as a result of losses from the COVID virus, we're looking at 250, 275 billion, in that range. The Speaker is still far, far above that. And the president still believes that we should not be spending money on things that literally have nothing to do with COVID. So it remains an area of disagreement, but the conversations are happening. And as I've said, I think over the next 48 hours or so, we'll see how things play out. But today, it was an optimistic morning, and it remains an optimistic afternoon as talks continue.
Brian, we're up a little bit of a deadline with the election coming 13 days from now, although the Speaker yesterday said, you know what, we could also do it after that. I'd like to do it before, we could do it after. Is President Trump committed to getting this stimulus done? Because he said he wants stimulus and he wants to be big, even if it goes after the election.
Yes, so that is an option, and the Treasury Secretary said something similar recently. And so, look, getting it done, we've wanted to get it done for the past, I think it's 92, 93 days at this point, but there's sort of a, we can't do it at all costs. We have to have some bounds of reasonability here. We have to be actually addressing problems facing the American people, keeping people connected to their jobs, ensuring adequate liquidity when they face problems due to the coronavirus. But if things drift past the election, we're not going to stop talking. But we've always wanted to get it done. As I said, over the last 92 days, we continue to want to get it done as soon as possible.
And are people working around the clock over at Treasury, that behind you there at the White House? Are people working around the clock to get this done?
Oh, absolutely. These things have not stopped. The Secretary, of course, has been on a tour through the Middle East, and he's continued to have these conversations even as he is literally halfway around the world. Our chief, Mark Meadows, remains engaged. Conversations ongoing with our staff in the Hill, making sure, as you know, David, I think sometimes negotiations like this are a bit of a game of whack-a-mole. When you move in one direction, part of one caucus may go in the other. So you have to kind of, maintain the glue to keep everybody together. We are continuing to use our best efforts to try and do that, as I said, to emphasize the administration's priorities of keeping people who work for small businesses connected to their jobs, stimulus checks for adequate liquidity, unemployment insurance. The president has taken unilateral actions with his executive orders. Those won't last forever. We will need help from Congress, and of course we want it as soon as we can get it.
Brian, a lot of us, you and we, are really focused on stimulus, but there are other issues as well pending. We do have the election coming up. Give me your sense, as your position as a White House spokesperson, what is the message for going into this election that you want to get across to the American people? What's the central message?
Yeah. So President Trump is the jobs president. His agenda of tax cuts, deregulation, improved trade deals, unleashing America's energy sector has led to the strongest, most inclusive economy we've seen. His response to the coronavirus of getting treatments and a vaccine to market in record time, using the Defense Production Act to get PPE all around the country, reducing the risks of the virus so that we can safely reopen. He wants, again, the strongest and most inclusive economy. The other side We're looking at draconian tax increases, potentially more lockdowns. The data is just not supporting that. We're not seeing spread in workplaces and schools. We can reopen in a safe way because President Trump has taken unprecedented steps to put us in this position, and his economic agenda is going to lead to more jobs and higher wages for the American people, and less wars and more peace deals than the previous administration. So definitely a safer and more prosperous way of life.
Brian, I know firsthand that no matter how much you want to control a message, sometimes it gets out away from you and it's hard to really control it. I want to talk about, just for one moment, the Lesley style 60 Minutes thing. I've been involved in some of those interviews. Sometimes they go well, sometimes they don't. Clearly, it didn't come out the way you wanted. What happened?
Well, I think the president's actually quite proud of it. He likes to joust. He enjoys hostile interviews. He wants to make sure that he gets a fair shake, that there isn't some deceptive editing going on. And so I think he wants to make sure that the whole thing's out there, that his fulsome answers are reported because he's quite proud of them. He doesn't want to be misportrayed. So I think that's really what this is about, is holding the press accountable and making sure that the reporting is accurate and fairly representing his answers.